Welcome, St. Peter's parishioners, to the second of these personal messages from me, a new experience for both of us. First of all, a couple of practical things. First of all, it's been very encouraging, the number of parishioners and maybe others who have gone online, gone to our website and clicked on last Sunday's service. We got about 50 hits in the first day or so, and I'm sure there are many more besides, so it's great to know this is working in terms of connecting with you. And there's been not as many hits on these personal messages, but quite a handsome number. So that's been encouraging too. Just a quick reminder to parishioners, it's really helpful if you can go over to direct debit giving by internet banking in this interesting time that we're going through. And if you're not sure how to make that transition as a way of supporting your church, look at the Pebble. It's also online, and it's a new news item thing every week. And go to Avril Hopkins, the Stewardship Recorder's phone number, and give her a call, and she'll guide you through the process. Yes, that's thrown to the Pebble. Also is there as a regular connection point with parishioners that you can easily locate on the home page. Well, last week I promised to talk about solitude. That's my theme today. And of course, I'm talking about it in the terms of the way it relates to me. A grab bag of my own particular approach to it. Just take out of it what you can that'd be useful. When my marriage came to an end, I needed to learn two things. First of all, about how to live on your own. And that was a kind of entryway into learning about solitude. A quick word about learning to live on your own. I found out that, to enter, if you went into cafes or restaurants, take a newspaper or a magazine so you don't look as though you're not fitting in a world of couples and groups. And holiday with friends, but at friends' places, but don't stay too long. And I think a real important thing for me was creating a sense of hearth and home. I mean, lifting my game in terms of my cooking. Nothing isn't great to come home to that lovely warm cooking smell in the kitchen. I think slow cookers are a great help to those who live alone. But that was the entry door into the love of solitude, which is now a key part of my life, and which is why I'm not finding this time of being confined to the vicarage, as it were, difficult at all. So by solitude, I mean learning to like your own company, learning to be at ease in your own skin, learning to be at ease in yourself. And I think that implies a certain degree of self-acceptance and a certain degree of self-knowledge. We don't have to know everything about ourselves. We'll never know that. As Augustine of Hippo said, God's closer to us than we are to ourselves. He's the one who really understands us. We'll never get the whole take on who we are, but we need to know just enough to know how to live our lives well, what makes us tick, what we need to do to live a life that's satisfying. I'll be coming back to this soon. I also think solitude means we don't need constant stimulation. That's a very crucial point in a world that's overstimulated now, particularly here in the West. And we don't need to have other people's company all the time in a needy kind of a way. I'm going to come back to this in a few minutes' time. I think it's really important in living a life of solitude to structure your day, to have things you do at certain times in it, to have a kind of rhythm to your day that suits your temperament. And that means, are you a morning person or an evening person, a lark or a late night owl? You'll know then when to do work stuff and operational tasks and get things done when you're high energy, and when the relaxing times you need to kick down. Thomas Aquinas said that good habits lead to virtue. I might add, good habits lead also as a kind of bedrock to the life of prayer. He means that we learn certain habitual things that we do in the same way that the army teaches battle drills to soldiers, so that when they're in extreme situations that could lead to panic and disintegration, they'll do what they need to do to preserve their life and to be effective in their role as soldiers. It's just habituated ourselves into these good ways of being and structuring our life. And I think that part of that is about having a home environment that's a rewarding and pleasant place to be. And for me, that means a clean, well-ordered environment. You female parishioners will laugh at this point, but I think there's perils for men who live lives unaudited by women, They need to make sure that what I call self-respect issues are being attended to, which means that their home is, as I say, clean and well ordered and a pleasant place to be that you want to come home to. Yes. So I think it's also important in the business of solitude about having inner resources. That means kind of cultivating the life of the mind to some extent. You don't have to have been to university to do that. Reading, watching good stuff, having things we can call on outside ourselves. And that's about helping us to live in a bigger world than just our immediate locality, our immediate friends and family. Being aware of what's going on in the world outside there. Being interested in what makes people tick. Being interested in the kind of pattern of things that are making things happen in the world underneath the surface. What is really going on? And having those inner resources, I think, reading is great. It's very important. Blobbing out in front of a trashy movie, that's a good thing to do from time to time. But it's good also to expose ourselves to films, documentaries, books that have substance, that explore the dynamics of what makes people tick and that help us also to understand what it is to be human. And also, I suppose, to help us in the business of self-knowledge. I think Paul was onto it in Philippians 4:8 when he finished that wonderful epistle with these words. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So it's important to have a well-stocked mind and a disciplined mind, just to be butterflies in our thinking and our kind of resources. Well, while we're on this subject, I think it's really important at this time to avoid the perils of clocking into the kind of saturation news coverage we're getting about only one subject. Many years before this present crisis was upon us, I heard a very wise person talking about the ways to avoid depression. He said, if you listen to the news bulletins on the hour, every hour, with a constant diet of bad news about what's happening in the world, you will get depressed. Listen to the news in the morning, listen in the evening, and leave it at that. That's what I do. I listen to about 5 minutes of radio news in the morning. I watch the 6 o'clock news, and I know what I need to know about the way in which the situation is developing. But if we go on exposing ourselves to this could lead to an acute drop in morale. And I don't think the news media are doing us a favour by doing this, actually. It just detonates the anxious, arouses people to do foolish things, as we've been seeing them in supermarkets. And there are actually important other stories, things that are happening in the world. Did you know there's a possibility of peace breaking out in Afghanistan? We wouldn't know it this week in our media. I'm pretty interested in the outcome of the American elections too. Other stories. A bigger world. Now, the crucial thing, silence. Silence. Lots of it. Lots of it in the vicarage right now. I remember a retreat I went to at theological college, and this Franciscan friar said to us, silence is the medium in which God swims. Silence is the medium in which God swims. I've never forgotten it. My goodness, it really is the bedrock of our prayer, isn't it? When we've said what we've got to say to God and praised and adored Him, important to give Him a chance to get a word in edgeways, not just babble on about things. I always remember that criticism of E.M. Forster in his great novel, A Passage to India. He talked about poor, talkative Christianity. Don't let's be like the spirituality of some I can think of, where it's yakety yak 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 to God all the time. We need to listen, attend, wait in silence, calm down, quiet ourselves. But I think it's really helpful too, in our day, to be at ease with silence, not needing lots of distractions that dull us and lead us away from attending to what's going on inside us, being in a listening mode in all sorts of ways, avoiding analgesics and the kind of music in the background all the time that kind of becomes a filter between us and what's really important. And I think out of that silence comes a sense of contentment. I love the way the Germans put it. Ich habe genug. I have enough. I have enough. I think that's an important part of contentment, and why it's important to avoid being in an overstimulated world. Of course, here some of you are wanting to say, oh, well, it's easy, you're an introvert. This is easy stuff. I'm an extrovert, very clubbable person, love being with people. It's much harder for me. Well, when I was in Christchurch last, I bought this little pink purse and gave it to my daughter, and it had a slogan on it, "Go away, I'm introverting." We both laughed at that. We knew what it meant and why that means to us. And, I've learned to appreciate extroverts lately in a new note of warm appreciation. They're emotionally generous people. They share themselves with others in a way that introverts often find it difficult. And I'm just so envious of their capacity and ability for name recognition. I can meet a person, I can call to mind a great deal of biographical information about them, but then can I remember their name? No. But extroverts do. They've got amazing recall. The Bishop Tom Brown of Wellington, I was impressed with him. He used to meet confirmation candidates separately before the confirmation service ever took place and get to know them, and could recall all their names effortlessly when it came to the confirmation. Great pastoral help. And I think extroverts also need times of quiet reflection and refreshing solitude, lest they lose themselves in endless, distracting interactions with others. This should be something that they should learn to appreciate and take on board. I'm not saying that silence is an excuse for a hermit-like ignoring of others, but when we do come into others' company, I think it enables us to bring all of ourselves into the interaction, to be there in a non-distracted way, because we are at ease in ourselves. And I think the final thing to make about all this is that it's important to know how to relax and how to recreate ourselves and what we need to do to unwind, and have a part of the day that's all about that, when we've let go of operational thinking, let go of tasks and stuff like that. I'm very amused by a saying of a parishioner of mine, "It's wine o'clock." Well, within moderation, we need to know what we need to do to relax and let go. It's been a great blessing to me, of course. What a film buff I am, to have all this big collection of DVDs in the vicarage. I usually watch movies in the evening. Films are the dreams of our culture and our society, so we need to attend to what dreams we're entering into. But my goodness, it helps me to forget about myself and enter into the narrative of other people's lives, and letting go of the burden of the self is perhaps one of the most important and refreshing things that happens in solitude. I'm going to finish with two things. First of all, it's a brief excerpt from the American poet Theodore Rothko. It's part of a much bigger poem, but this particular section I call self-acceptance, and it's very much at the heart of what I've been on about today. Near this rose, in this grove of sun-parched, wind-warped madronas, among the half-dead trees, I came upon the true ease of myself, as if another man appeared out of the depths of my being, and I stood outside myself, beyond becoming and perishing, a something wholly other, as if I swayed out on the wildest wave alive, and yet was still, and I rejoiced in being what I was. And finally, I'm going to finish with a favourite blessing of mine. I first heard this blessing and first memorised it after a real peak moment in my time as a curate in England, when I watched on television the enthronement of Robert Runcie as Archbishop of Canterbury in his cathedral at Canterbury. I wonder if the BBC still does that when the Archbishop's enthroned. I'd actually heard Robert preach a month or two before at All Saints Margaret Street when he was still the Bishop of St Albans. Here's the prayer. Here's the blessing. God, the Holy Trinity, make you strong in faith and hope and love, defend you on every side, nourish you with the riches of the Catholic faith. The blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be among you and remain with you always. Amen. May God bless you.